Hello folks. Well, it's a blowy, nasty kind of day out there. Having a full-blown nor'easter in the mid to late April. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to kind of show you something. Maybe you know about it, maybe you don't. Bottom fishing in the St. Johns River is a pretty simple task. It's just pretty much, getting on the spot and that you want to fish on, or if you're even at the jetties. And I've had some fantastic luck with just using the simplest rig you can possibly use, and that's what I'm going to show you today. We're going to tie up here. Basically, it's the same thing as a party boat rig. Okay, what I got here, I'm using it for purposes of being able to, hopefully you'll be able to see it. I'm just using some of that Cajun, Shakespeare Cajun line. It's red. Okay, so I'm hoping you're going to be able to see this. The easiest thing to do is you start out with making a double line, and then you make a loop. Then you take your loop and you go around the loop that you're holding and put it on through. And then, see what all that's doing is making a figure 8, okay? And then you're just going to pull that tight. Okay, you pull that nice and tight. Got to always use the teeth. Okay, and then we're going to clip that off. Clip that tag end off. I'm using this 50-pound Cajun red line. Most of the time I got big spools of this. It's called Mason hard type nylon. It's nylon, not monofilament. This is very supple and soft. This is very hard and stiff. This is my preferred line to use to make this rig, and I'll show you why in a minute. It's just very stiff. It's the same thing I use when I make my little strong arm rigs. If you've fished with me before, a little bottom rig that I make. Okay, so then we have a loop. And I make a pretty good size loop for the sheer fact that, when I'm not using this, I just put it around my whole reel and tighten it up. But all you're going to do is you're just going to take your sinker, go through here and just loop it around your sinker, right? So then your sinker would be like that, okay? What I have here on my nice little workbench here in the wolf den is I've got pegs. Okay, in my workbench here. I got one over here. And then what I do is I want this to be completely measured out. So I'm going to take this loop and I'm going to bring it on over here. Okay, and I want to make a dropper loop. And I want the dropper loop to be the exact every time I do it. Okay, so here's where my sinker would be. And then I'm going to go around here like that. Okay, and there you go. That would be the space that I am going to make my dropper loop. I'm actually, I don't know, I don't want to mislead you here, but I want this a little further away, and this might be out of the view. Okay, so I'm putting it a little further away because I want it a little bit longer. So it's out over here. So, but I'm going to make a dropper loop here. And I'm going to go around. And this is how I get the exact measurement of my dropper loop that I want. The simplest bottom rig you can ever make with the least amount of tackle. Okay, so now, when I take this off, right, here's what it was. It was on here like this. That's the measurement of my dropper loop, and I'm holding this over here nice and tight. I'm going to take it off, and here's how you make a dropper loop. You're holding the two pieces of line. Here's the spool. There's the loop right here. And there's the part going to the sinker. Stick your fingers in there. You keep this separated, and you spin it 3 or 4 times. Okay. Then you open it up and pull that loop through. Now what I do is I pull the loop through and I stick it on something. And if you can see this, there's your dropper loop. And what that's going to do is, as I pull that tight, see how that's making a nice knot? And there you go. Now there's what you refer to as the dropper loop. This is how they do it on the party boats. There's no reason in the world you can't do this in the river. This is a fantastic little whiting rig. Okay, it's real simple. And the whole idea of it is when you have your hook here, you got your sinker here, there's a distance here between the hook and where the sinker is when you're fishing on the bottom, many times your bait is going to be just enough off the bottom that you're not going to be picking up stingrays and skates and things like that, okay? So then, what I do is I hold this tight. Let me move this over here a little bit. I'm going to get a hook out. I'm going to use a big hook for demonstration purposes, okay? I want you to be able to see this hook. And then as I have my sinker end looped around something, I pull this tight, I pinch the end, and I stick it through the eye, okay, just like that, and then around my hook, and there you go. So there's the dropper loop right there, like that, and then I'll come up from my dropper loop maybe 6 to 10 inches or so, cut that off, and then right in here I'm going to place a swivel. Alright, so do my 100% knot here. Okay. You always want to do this. Go ahead and tighten that up. Trim it off. And there you go. You got yourself a complete dropper loop system. Okay. You can change the hook out easy. You got your loop where you're going to loop in your sinker. Then you got a little bit of a distance to your doubled dropper loop here that's going to hold your bait out. Okay, because we're fishing the current anyhow, so that's holding the bait out. Then up to the swivel. And that is a hook, a piece of line, and a swivel. It so much cracks me up when I see people using what I refer to as a tourist rig. Okay, they got all these beads and baubles and hooks, 4 or 5 hooks and big steel arms sticking out and giant snaps. All you need is some mono, a pack of hooks, and some swivels, and you've got endless amounts of rigs that you can make. Okay, and what I love this rig for is I make a whole bunch of them, and I keep them on the boat. And this is a great whiting rig. I love using this rig when I'm taking the kids fishing. Okay, croakers, anything. And at the same time, this rig catches drum, redfish, sheepshead, anything. Okay, and you may notice here that I use these hooks just like this all the time. Okay, it's got a turned in eye. turned in eye. Okay? And that's the reason, because on my other rig, let me show you that. I got another bottom rig here. I always snell my hooks, okay, on my other rigs that I make. That's a snell right there. And then I go to this with a short piece of mono, and then this is my strong arm that I make. Okay, I'm not going to go getting too deep into this with a snap, and I tie it off here. And see how that Mason hard type nylon is very stiff. See how it holds that leader out? And that's to keep us from getting all tangled up all the time when you're going up and down, up and down. Okay, but I got spools and spools and spools of Mason hard type nylon. I use 30, what would be basically 30 and 80. Okay, so the label's gone off of this, but they usually don't rate it all that much of, I think, a pound test. Goes by diameter, but they're leaning. I've seen it lately. In the old days, they didn't really go by pound test, but now they are. So Mason is one of the oldest monofilament or fishing line manufacturers in the United States, from what I gather. And so that's one of my bottom rigs. But if I want to do the ultimate and simple, I'm doing my dropper loop, and I'm pinching this just like they do on the party boats. I'm using that same turned in eye that I would snell on my other rigs, and I pinch this and stick it through the eye. It's kind of tough to get through there. You got to really pinch that tight, because this is, like I said, this is 50-pound mono. Okay, then I pinch it through, and then I just go around. So there's your basic bottom rig. Why the heck would you ever need anything else than a box of hooks, some swivels, and a spool of line? Alright, so that's a little tech tip. Simplest bottom rig ever invented. Keeps you from catching them stingers and stuff because your bait's on the bottom. And as we all know, when you're talking those little alien hovercraft on the bottom, if it's laying on the bottom, they're going to hoover that baby right up. So hopefully you're off the bottom here with this rig. Here's my swivel. Right down at the end of this, there's my sinker. Okay? You can make these up, stick them in some bags, you're good to go. Alright, so that's a tech tip for anybody out there who doesn't know how to make the simplest bottom fishing rig ever invented. And thanks for watching.